What's up, everybody? What's going on? It is 9 a.m. on Friday, which means it is time for another episode of Friday's 4 Things. This Friday, we're going to be talking about 4 things that are commonly accepted in the football world or the quarterbacking world that I disagree with. To put it another way, these are 4 things that QB gurus, coaches, football fans kind of agree on as commonplace that I'm like, well, wait a sec, I don't really agree with that.
Nice job again by Max Brown.
Max Brown, you're making it look easy.
Being very careful with the right arm.
And who am I? Why do I have the qualifications to talk on this subject? I am Max Brown, former quarterback at USC in Pittsburgh. I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs. I played for 5 different head coaches in college, so I've been coached by a bunch of different quarterback coaches, gurus, head coaches, whatever it might be, offensive minds. So I feel like I come at this from a bunch of different angles. Number 1, 5-step drops out of the gun. If you are not a quarterback, have no idea what I'm talking about. That's just literally in shotgun, taking a 5-step drop versus a 3 versus a 1 versus a no-step drop and just getting the ball in your hands. Why do I hate these? Why do I not think, well, I guess I'll flip the other way around. Why do they exist? They exist because of timing, right? So for longer comebacks, 20-yard comebacks, for 20-yard digs, for full progressions, a lot of people use 5-step drops out of the gun. And in the NFL, I have no problem with that. But in high school and college, it makes no sense to me because, for one main reason. It puts your left tackle and your right tackle on an island. It puts them in such a tough spot because when you drop back 5 steps all the way deep in the pocket, you watch every college quarterback that does that, he has to aggressively step up in the pocket to save his tackles. I mean, think about it. It's tough in this YouTube format, but think about a defensive end pinning his ears back, right? If I'm way back there, the angle for him to get to me, it's not as sharp of an angle. There's a reason defensive ends do that bending drill, right? To bend around the tackle. Well, if the quarterback's way the hell back there, you don't have to bend as much. It's more of a straight line. And at the high school and college level specifically, offensive tackles are not skilled enough usually to take that on. And sure, as you get older, it becomes a little bit easier for tackles to manage. But 5-step drops, it's kind of just like the established way of thinking, especially with older football minds. But I just think it puts so much pressure on your tackles. And in my experience, a lot of quarterbacks, when they are forced to do the 5-step drop out of the gun, given the fact that they had to catch the snap first, they sometimes feel late and feel rushed as a result of doing the 5-step drop. And you could just do an elongated 3 is what I'm trying to get to. Any quick 5 out of the gun, any 5-step drop out of the gun, you could just slow down your 3-step drop and get it done that way. Matt Ryan does 5-step drops out of the gun all the time, as do a lot of quarterbacks, but for some reason he's kind of the name that sticks out to me. And they do a great job, and he always does a great job of stepping up right away and just getting the ball out of his hands. And at the NFL level, you're doing a lot of 20-yard comebacks, a lot of 20-yard digs. In college, it's a lot more in the 16 range, so you're not forced to do the 5-step drop. Food for thought when you're watching football next, especially when you're sitting on your couch on Saturday and then switch over and watching college and then switch over to watching NFL Sunday. 5-step drops out of the gun. Pay attention to it. I'm not a fan of it at the high school and college level, and I got to the point where, not to be like a smarty pants or anything, but as I got older in college, I got to the point where I was telling my offensive coordinators, like, yo, we don't need to do that. We're putting, especially when you get into like playing with the second string, and that tackle's even worse than the first string. I had great tackles in college, luckily, all of which are still playing in the NFL. I just thought about that. Zach Banner, Brian O'Neill, Jordan Simmons, Chad Wheeler. Had some good tackles in college. Even so, that even strengthens my point. If I'm saying this and all my tackles from college are playing in the NFL, that means something. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm totally changing subjects here. I feel like in the quarterback world, it is commonplace to think that the NFL is wrong in how they netted out with the Tom Brady Deflategate. I feel like most people are like, the NFL's crazy. How could they do that? How could they punish him? I'm not like that. I respect the hell out of Tom Brady. Tom Brady is an absolute stud. But every quarterback, especially if you've played at an elite level, knows what it's like when the ball is rock hard, versus when you take a little bit of air out of it. Even the little bit of like a stick a needle in, very briefly, where's the pen? Everyone knows the slightest difference makes a big deal, especially when you go back to that game. It's been a year, so I'm really going back there. It's been like what, 3 years since that game took place. But you go back there, it's a cold game. There's a reason he's doing it. If I, as a quarterback, I would always go for the ball that was slightly less inflated. You can grip it better, you can rip it better, it spins out of your hand. I was a quarterback that was kind of picky with the footballs I would throw with, but it matters. And the biggest point that I can say for this is go to a high school football camp, go to an Elite 11 camp, go to an NFTC. You will see tons of footballs that are flat. Like if you just picked them up, you're like, what the hell is this? This ball's like completely flat. There's a reason they're doing that, because guys with smaller hands, it's easier to throw footballs that are flat. And it's kind of doesn't really make sense, right? You think a pumped up football with spin smoother, like how does that work? Trust me, the little bit of air makes a huge difference. Is it worth? Would the Patriots not have won a Super Bowl? No. Would they not have beat the Colts that year? No. They still would have crushed them. I don't care. But it does matter. Those of you that are saying, it's just a little bit of air, who cares? It does matter. Ask quarterbacks that have played at that level. I can't blame the NFL for putting the hammer down, because Tom Brady, they knew what they were doing. Those managers knew what they were doing. Tom Brady may not have explicitly said, hey, manager, take air out. But I've been in those meetings, and I've been tight with my managers. Shout out Anthony Machado, Alex Collins, the old managers. I remember being in there, and every Friday when you're picking out footballs, and if the starter's complaining about the same thing every single week, man, this is stiff, man, you better believe managers will take it upon themselves to find a solution to that problem. So I almost said Peyton Manning. So Tom Brady may not have explicitly said, hey, take air out of the football, but I could totally see him saying, gosh, this ball's stiff, man, it's rock hard, especially when it's cold. I can't grip the ball. And Bill Belichick or someone, Josh McDaniels, whoever was the OC at that time, saying, figure it out, managers, something like that. I'm making it up at this point, but not a non-issue in my book. So I feel like most of the QB world says, gosh, NFL, you're dumb. It's only an ounce of air. How could that matter? How could you punish Tom Brady? It does matter. Ask quarterbacks that have played. The third thing that I disagree with the quarterback world on, and it's similar to Deflategate, I guess you could say, and it has to do with gripping the football. It's a weird thing, especially now that I'm not like in football and just kind of like throwing football like around the beach or something. I feel like I always get this question, and it's, Max, how do you grip a football? What's the right way to grip a football? And I figured out that I'm actually weird when it comes to gripping a football. And I sat down to film this YouTube video, and I didn't even bring a football in here, so I wish I could show you. To me, it does not matter how you grip the football. I was a guy that only had my ring finger on the football, and my pinky, I weirdly have like a small pinky, couldn't get on the lace as well. Most guys have these two fingers, I'm right-handed, on the football, and that's how they grip it, that's how they rip it. I only had my ring finger on there, and that was normal. Some guys, they'll like do the whole, like, I think it's Aaron Rodgers, is it Dan Marino that puts his pointer finger more towards the tip, or Brett Favre, pointer finger more towards the tip. There's tons of different ways to do it. A lot of people get involved with, I got my coffee here, but imagine this being a football, right? Where they say you need space in between here. You should be able to see space in between there, and it shouldn't be jammed tight. There's definitely some truth to that, but what I'm trying to get at is it doesn't matter how you grip the football as long as it feels comfortable for you. The one thing I would say is early on, if you do have an elementary school kid or whatever, and they're literally starting from scratch, I would be conscious of not gripping the ball super tight, because as you get older, it is very, very hard to throw in the rain when you grip the ball extremely tight. I was actually not the best at throwing in the rain. I played with a guy, both Cody Kessler and Sam Darnold, who I played with at USC. They were both very good at throwing in the rain. They did not grip the ball very tight, and I think that really helped them throw in the rain, because ironically enough, hand size does matter when you play with elements. But believe it or not, like Sam Darnold doesn't have big hands, and he throws the ball very well in the rain. But this point started at how you grip the ball. I do not think it matters how you grip the ball at all, as long as it's comfortable with you, and as obviously it goes without saying, if you're at least in the realm of functional football gripping, like I've seen people grip it in the middle, like when they literally never played football, that's not going to work. But as long as you are in the general vicinity, it doesn't matter whether you have one finger, two fingers in the lace, pointer finger slightly pointed, not, doesn't matter. As long as it's comfortable for you, stick with it, grip it. I see a lot of quarterback gurus try to tinker with the grip as that's going to be the solution to an older quarterback's problems. That's not going to be the case. That's not going to be the case at all. There are bigger things to fix, in my opinion, than grip, especially when you get to an older age. And the last thing for this Friday's 4 things. Once again, the topic was 4 things that I disagree with the quarterback world on. Another way to put it, 4 things that are kind of commonplace in football circles that I'm like, wait a sec, does this really make sense? Why are we doing this? Showed you the first 3. And number 4 is, what is the most important quality for a quarterback? When you ask that question, I feel like maybe 20, 25 years ago, you would have said arm strength all the way. Maybe even 15 years ago, you would have said arm strength's the most important category. Feel like the Jamarcus Russell and some other guys kind of said, you know what? Arm strength doesn't really matter as much as other traits do. And the cop-out answer is going to combine a bunch of different traits and say they're all important or intangibles or something like that. But I think most people will probably say if you had to put your money on one trait, accuracy is the most important. For me, it's number 2, if not number 3. But to me, the number 1 most important trait, without a doubt, for the quarterback is confidence. It's not arm strength. It's not intangibles. And I guess confidence technically is an intangible. But it's not arm strength. It's not accuracy. It's not leadership. It's not footwork. It's not timing, which that's another one that's slept on. It is confidence. I have played with quarterbacks at every single level that you could put them in shorts and a t-shirt, you could put them in cam drills, and they would lose a lot of cam drills. They don't have the strongest arm. The ball doesn't look pretty coming off their hand. They are not good when things are just kind of staged. But when the lights shine, when you're in a locker room, when you got to look guys in a huddle, confidence is the most important thing. And I think that holds true. When you look at the quarterbacks that are having success in the NFL, there are guys that they'll bet on themselves when it comes down to it. And there's a lot of different ways to get confidence. It has to do a lot with your preparation. But I think you can try to nitpick and say, hey, this prospect looks one way, and a different prospect might be shorter, might be slower, might not have as strong of an arm, might not be able to anticipate as well. But if he believes in himself and he has the confidence to get it done, and he knows that, hey, I got to go do an 80-yard drive, I got to go have a 2-minute drive, confidence is the most important trait for a quarterback. So any of you quarterbacks out there listening to this, if you're training, yes, get better. Yes, get your footwork better. Yes, work on your strength, your mobility, all that stuff. But do it with the North Star being, how can I get more confidence in my game? If this footwork, and that's especially when you start getting into the college ranks, you're there for a reason. Yes, you need to improve your game, but I'm very wary of trying to reinvent the wheel with things. I'm big on what changes can I make over the course of a summer, over the course of the off season, that are ultimately going to get me to a point where I am more confident in my game. Confidence is the most important trait for a quarterback. So there you have it. It's another Friday morning, Friday's 4 things. Appreciate you checking this out. Would love to get this off the ground. So if you're watching this, you're a loyal fan, please share this if you enjoyed. Drop a comment. Let me know if I had to expand it to 5 or 6 things. What would you include? Let me know there. And I appreciate the support here. And I'll see you next Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Peace.